Karbanas, they're not allowed to contribute to the base of Migdash. It's an anti-goyish year.
Could be. I was an anti-non-Semite.
You're right.
Okay. Let's see the Heilige Gemara. So we're at the bottom.
Oh, before we start, is there going to be a Siyum tomorrow or not? I gotta know this.
The problem, our theme that we would make here, we can't even say Kaddish, and we can't even we can't say Kaddish, we can't formally make a theme because we're not going to really have a minyan in one place. It was more symbolic than anything else. So as a lachar, you probably still have to go somewhere.
Oh boy, that's going to be a problem. Okay.
I mean, I don't know. It could be if we would have a minyan at least in one place.
Well, who says you have to make a say Kaddish if you make it?
I mean, it could be just finishing the Masechta is enough.
That's right.
I don't know. I can ask Rabbi Lowy.
Yeah.
I'll ask Rabbi Lowy. I'll ask him.
Okay, thanks.
That's what it says. No problem. My pleasure. And then I'll
let me know.
Everybody. Yeah, we'll do. Okay. So we were learning about the Mishnah that tells us that if a city sends with a shliach their shkolim to the Beis Hamikdash, and the shliach got hijacked, either it was the Avda or Nigdavu, if it was after they already took from the Trumas Halishka, then they're considered, the Shkolim already considered that they belong to the Beis Hamikdash, and the city doesn't have to replenish it. But if this happened, it was stolen or lost before the Trumas Halishka, then we say it's the loss of the city. So Zok to Heilige Gemara, Amar Belozer, Reb Shimoni. This is going according to Reb Shimon. Now the Tavon Chatan speaks out that the difficulty here is that the halacha is that you don't make a shvua, you don't make a shvua to hektish. So if you don't make a shvua to hektish or on hektish, how is it possible that our Mishnah says that you make a shvua? So the Tachlan says all at the bottom, Hadat nan b'masnisen, the Hashoimim nishboyin to Reb Shimon. It has to go according to Reb Shimon, and we'll tell you what Reb Shimon says in a minute. But the loiking hakaimelon ein nishboyin al hektish. You can never make a shvua related to hektish. And in fact, here the Gemara says, here the Mishnah says they swear to the Gizbar once the Trumas Halishka was done, you'd never make a shvua to hektish. So Zok to Gemara is going according to Reb Shimon, who holds that Kashim Shuchai Bechar Kinechasofim. If you're going to be chayiv to replenish what went missing, then it's considered like the nechasim of a yachid, and that's why you could make a shvu on it. Similar to someone who says Harei Alai Oila, so he's mechuyev in achrayis if the animal goes missing, even though this animal is hektish, it's an oila, it has kedusha, because he's already designated this animal as his oila. Nevertheless, you would still swear to the bailam if something like that went missing, because the bailam will have to replenish it in the event that it goes missing. So it's going according to Reb Shimon, who holds you don't have to come on to Reb Shimon. Regardless, you could still swear in this case. So why are you swearing? I don't swear to hektish. It's mishum shavuos takana. The reason why you're swearing is up to it's kadeshal yizalzulu hashoimrim b'shmir hektish, in order so that people who are taking responsibility for hektish shouldn't be lax in the shmira. So it's a takana that they have to swear. So Zok to Gemara, al das Rabbi Yochanan nicha nishboim legizbarim, imlav nishboim livnei ha'ir. Either you swear to the gizbarim, if it's after the Trumas Alishka, and if before the Trumas Alishka, it's Nishpoin of the ear, and then Uvnei ear, Shekelin Tachteim, Shekel Macheim Tachteim. The Uvnei ear have to replenish it. Oh, I see someone sending me a message. Let me see what if it's relevant to the Gemara. Oh, Chaim Tzvi is asking where we are. So I'm just going to let him know.
Wants to know the channel.
Yeah.
We got to look it up.
Regular channel 1. Okay. So let's see what the Gemara says weiter. So Zog to Gemara. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, it's good because if either they swear to the Bnei Eir, and if not, they swear to the Gizbarim, and if they swear to the Bnei Eir has to give a second one, Mishum Shvuas Takon. According to Rabbi Lezer, that it's only going according to Rabbi Shimon, who holds that to kachim that your chai v'chrais is like yours. Rabbi Lezer nishboin l'bnei Eir. I understand. Hadahi the Rabbi Shimon. It makes sense why you swear to the Bnei Eir, because of Rabbi Shimon's halacha. Even though it's hektish, even though the Shekalim are going to hektish, but since the Bnei Eir have to replenish it, so you could swear to them. But nishboim gizbarim maya v'detayu. Why would you ever have to swear to the gizbarim? In the event that this occurred after the Trumas Alishka, where it's hekdish's loss, not the loss of the city, so then Reb Shimon's svara that kachim that you're chayiv and achrayis, you could swear on to the yochid. That's very good if we're going to have to replenish those coins. But if it was lost after the Trumas Alishka was taken, then the city does not have to replenish the coins. So if the city doesn't have to replenish the coins, why is there any type of shvua to the Gizbar? And the answer to that is that the Gemara bleib shver. The Gemara bleib shver. We're not goyers the next few lines. However, the Tatman tells us that in the Bavli, I'm not sure what Masechet it is, but in the Bavli, it was asked about Bav Metzia. In Bav Metzia, the Gemara says that maybe we're going by a Shomer Socher. And who's paying the Shomer Socher? Who's paying these people who are delivering the coins to Yerushalayim? The Bnei Eir is making that payment. The Bnei Eir are paying these people to go deliver the coins. Now, even though these people might not be mechuyev to pay for the coins, and even though the shomer might not pay for the coins, but the shomer wants his pay he wants a shipping pay. He wants the pay that he was promised if he would deliver the coins. So that's coming from the balabatim of the city. So it means the shpoin of Bnei Eir b'maimed gizbar. Even though it's hekdish's loss, so the coins don't have to be replenished, he'll swear to the Bnei Eir if he wants to collect his pay for the transportation. Then he has to swear to the Bnei Eir, and he has to swear in front of the Gizbar. Why? So the Gizbarim shouldn't be chayshirim for stealing from hektish. So they get to watch, they get to witness the shvua. Inami, the Lord nishvul poishim, so that one of the shvus he has to swear is that I wasn't poisheya. I watched it properly. So if hektish says bear, hektish will see the Gizbar will be able to be satisfied that they swore, seeing the shvua, that the transportation company wasn't negligent.
A second. It wasn't delivered. It wasn't delivered, and they want to get paid?
They want to get paid, yeah, because there was an onus.
Right. So I understand that they're not chayav for the Karen, but for the service,
they want to be paid too.
Yeah, right.
These must have been union employees. Oh, that's it. Now I'm going to get thrown off today again.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not for sure. Now they're on to me, and they're going to go against. I go against liberals. They're going to wipe me right out. Okay, so let's see what the Halak Gemara says. Avapisha Kiblu B'nei Ir L'Shalem, even though the B'nei Ir is going to pay Ein Hektish Yotzav L'Shua, Hektish still gets it Shua. But again, this really doesn't fit into our Gemara because according to our Gemara, that it's going according to Reb Shimon, it's not, and speaking by Asher Mechidam, this side wouldn't be relevant. So basically, according to the Pshat and the Gemara, that's going according to Reb Shimon, we have Shver, the Gemara bleibt Shver, as to why you swear to the Gizbarim. Zok the Gemara weiter. Hifrish Shikloi v'avad. What happens if you were mafresh your shekel and you lost it? Rabbi Yochanan Omer Chayav Bechar Ad Shiyim Seren L'Gizbar. Rabbi Yochanan said you're chayav to replenish it until the Gizbar gets it. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Omer Hektish B'Shus Hagavoya B'Chol Mokim Shehu. It doesn't matter where it physically is. L'maisa, this coin is in the Rishus of Hektish, and therefore you don't have to replenish it because it's always by Hektish. So this Machlokes is very much impacted by our Mishnah. So Gemara Mesnisen Pliga al Reb Shimon ben Lakish. Our Mishnah seems to be arguing with Rish Lakish, who holds that once I'm mafresh my matbeya, I'm not responsible for it anymore. Because our Mishnah says, Nishboin levnei ha'ir, uvnei ha'ir sheitlun tachteya. If it's before the Truma Salishka that the money went missing, the city has to replenish it. According to Rish Lakish, why would the city have to replenish it? Once, wherever these coins are, in whichever city, let's say they're in Eilat, once the coins were already designated as Shekalim, so wherever they are, they're in the Rishus of Hektish. So therefore, why should the city have to replenish it? So our Mishnah doesn't stem so good with Rish Lakish. So tomorrow, loy oiti mishum shvus takana. Maybe you're taka not really mechuyev, and our Mishnah that says that you are mechuyev, it might only be because of a takana, just like we said in the second shot, according to Rabbi Yochanan, that there's a takana that you have to swear to Hektish. The whole thing is only a takana because you normally don't swear to Hektish. Maybe it's also a takana that you have to replenish the coins according to Rish Lakish, even though really the coins are always Bershus Hektish. And the Taklin says, Oy bazoi, if it's all takana, so why don't you have to swear? Why don't you have to replenish the coins of Hektish? So the Taklin Chadin makes a distinction. And Taklin Chadin says as follows. Kloimer, Kamoila Milo, the Shvus Shaliach, Mishum Takana, just like the Svara, Rabbi Yochanan said earlier, that the reason why the Shliach swears to Hektish is only because of the Takana, not because the Raisa de Mechuyev Shua. Hachanami Tashlumen, the Bnei Ha'ir Nami Mishum Takana, maybe the fact that the Bnei Ha'ir have to pay, according to where Rish Lakish will learn the Mishnah, is also only as a Takana, Kideshi HaBailim Nisarim B'Shmirasim, to give the Bailim an incentive to be careful with these shkolim. If he's not responsible for them, the moment he's mafresh them, then he'll be lax in their watching. Once it's nitmar tumor, we don't make the city replenish them. Since then we consider it completely in the hands of the gizbar. So the svar is that it's not physically in the hands of the gizbar, but once the Trumas Alishka is made, we consider it more in the rishus of the gizbar, and therefore we don't mandate them to pay, but we would mandate them to pay also the kana if it was not yet nitrima teruma. Okay, zok tehele gemara weiter. Where are we up to? Oh, here's Tani. So now the Mishnah says that if after the city gives another set of shkolim and you find the first set, so they both are kodesh. So the question is, what do you do with both sets? So the Brisa says, "Harishonim noiflin letaklan chadatin." The first set that they gave originally, the ones that they found now, they'll go to this year's shkolim. Vashniim, and the second ones, Neufel Atikin, they will be put into last year's cheshbon, because of course everybody has to have an equal share in the karbonis, so therefore we could only take one set of coins to use for this year's shekalim. Which are the first? What is the first and what is the second? Rab Pinchas Bei Rab Chia, Rab Abba Mori. There's a machlokes between Rab Pinchas and Abba Mori. Chad Omar Elu shesholchu b'nei er tchila. The first ones that we're saying goes to the shekalim of this year are the ones that were originally sent and they got lost and now we found them, like I said earlier. But v'charan Omar, the other one of these two mandarim says Elu shegiu l'dei gizbar tchila. Whichever set of money gets to Gizbar first, that's going to be the one that the Taklan Chagdin. So I'm assuming they sent another set with another shliach to bring it to the Beis HaMikdash, and if they're found, they send that as well. And whichever one arrives to the Gizbar first, that's the one that will be applied to this year, and the other ones will be applied to Taklan Atikin, which are used to do repairs, general repairs in the Beis HaMikdash. Sagt der Heilige Gemara weiter. Hanoisen Shikloi lachaveroi lishkoi al yodai. I have a friend, he's going to Yerushalayim, and I tell him, here is my shekel, do me a favor, hand it in for me. And what did this friend do? He handed it in, and he told the Gizbar, this is my shekel. So Zok Gemara, im nitver hatruma mal. Once they already take the truma, so he hands it in, and then they come and take from the truma salishka. So that's when it's actually taken in to Bar Karbanos with. The person misrepresenting himself as the owner, so the shliach, who is saying that these shkalim are for him, he's going to be moil because he had a no from the hektish. Because when his friend gave it, it was hektish, and then he took it and used it for himself. So let's see what the Taklan says. Im nitmer truma koidim sheshokal b'sholatzmoi, before he actually replenished his own thing. Kiva that truma he gam ala osad ligbois. So I made a mistake. What the Taklan is saying is, if before I handed it in, they already did the truma salishka. So since the truma is on the osad ligbois, meaning once his friend gave him this coin to bring to Yerushalayim, even if he didn't deliver it yet, when they took the truma, this now became hektish. So nimsa haya shekel zeh shenosan la'lishkal alav b'rishus hahektish. Kum techais, that the coin that he has in the sand that he's transporting to Yerushalayim is b'rishus hektish, because hektish owns it the moment there's a truma salishka done, like we said in the last Mishnah. And then when he arrives to Yerushalayim and he gives it in for himself, he's not having enough from his friend anymore. This coin belongs to hektish. He's having enough of hektish. Therefore, he's moil. The Gemara is going to ask soon, what hana does he have? The hana of a mitzvah that he hands it in, that's not called hana. Mitzvah lav nehanish. So what hana does he have? In order to be over on Me'ilah, you have to have had a benefit. What benefit do you have from hektish, from the fact that you gave in somebody else's coin? And like the Taklan says, this was after the Truma Salishka, and Nitmar Truma, then Mo'al. What about Ashoikel Shiklei Min Hektish? What if somebody has Bedek Habayis? He has money that belongs to Bedek Habayis, and he uses that money to give for his shekel. And the nitra truma, and then there was nitra truma, and not only was the truma salishka done, but the karva behema, and they actually hektish already went out and bought animals for a carbon, and they already were makriv the animal on the mizbeach. So now there's a full loss. Then mo'al. How about mimaisu sheni umidmei shviyas? Somebody had money of maisu sheni, or money of Perish Shvius, and he gave that as his machzor shekel. Yoichel Kenegdon, he has to eat. Let's say he has $100 worth of Ma'aser Sheni. He's going to have to eat $100 of Ma'aser Sheni Kenegdon, and the Gemara will explain how you do that. Zogt the Taklan again. Mina hektish. Shahayu biyadi mois shehektish. He had money of hektish that was hektish lebedek abayis. Uchusaver shem shachulin, and he thought that this money was chulin. He didn't realize that it was hektish. V'shokam and shikla, and he used that money to pay for a shekel. V'niteru truma, and then there was truma salishka, and it went further than that. V'kana behena ba'oisai truma, and they bought an animal. Hektish already bought an animal with that money. V'hikrivua, and they were makavit. So a lot more has to happen than just truma salishka if it's hektish's money that you take, and we're going to see in a moment why. Only there will the person who took the hektish money, the bedakavayis money, only then will he be chayiv mi'ila. But before then, like when merely there was truma salishka, like when you took your friend's coin, there it's loimal, then you won't be moil. Why not? You're only over from me'ila if you actually change the status of the hektish and you moitzit l'chulin. So if I take money of hektish and I buy something with it, then the thing that I'm buying is in place of the hektish, and the hektish shows l'chulin only at that point in my moil. But if I'm taking it from hektish to hektish, meaning I took by the kabayis and I'm handing it in as shekalim, it's weiter hektish. So I'm never taking away its status of hektish. I'm taking what I'm doing is I'm transferring it from a bedek kabayis hektish to a carbon hektish. But either way, it's hektish. So therefore, I can't be moil just because of that transaction. So therefore, avol bisha nehena, even though I'm benefiting from it, and we'll see in the Gemara why I'm benefiting, eine moil. I'm not going to be moil ela achar she'asa ma'isa behektish hasheni, until the hektish hasheni is shechted and now it's gone. Only then will you be mechuyev al tzmeila. Frek tetaklin v'adle tanile bereisha nami karva behema. Why is it that when you're taking your friend's shekel, there we don't need it's weiter hektish, it's a shekel and I'm giving it in as hektish, so weiter I'm not being moitzi from hektish. So why over there is it enough that if it was nitrim alishka, I'm still going to be chai from ila? Mishum de bereisha ha'meila b'dovar she'ein boy pegam. In the reisha, the type of meila that's occurring is a meila where there is no damage to hektish. The mitchila namik l'shenosan zel lishkal al yodai lo'ilicha legizbar nosan. What happened? The person gave me this coin. What was I supposed to do it? I was supposed to give it to the gizbar. I'm also giving it to the gizbar. So I'm really doing with it exactly what was supposed to happen. The only thing that's different is that I'm taking credit for it. But this is the type of meila that I'm not damaging the hektish at all, because hektish is getting it anyway. Therefore, if it's the type of meila where it's not damaging the hektish, that meila occurs the moment you have hana. But the type of meila that's meila because hektish is being damaged, that meila b'davar sheyesh b'pegam, the mitchila hoktish hamoyis lebedek habayis. Originally, this money was supposed to be for bedek habayis. V'zeh nosan l'shekel la'krova, and he misappropriated it for hakrova because you're going to be buying karbanos with it. Einay mo achi yifkam. There, the meila won't occur until hektish is missing something, which means the animal was shafted already. Anytime the meila involves hektish being damaged, then loimal achayivkoy. Then the meila will not occur until the loss happens by hektish. She'ein bahem pegam. But if it's the type of meila that is no pegam, such as when you're just giving the shekel and instead of attributing it to your friend, you attribute it to yourself, there kibun shnehenim all. The moment you have an awe, even if nothing is removed from hektish, you're still going to be moil. Kain hu loshin hagoyin hachosid. The Taklin is a Talmud of the Vilna Goyin. So he says this is probably what my Rebbe, this is how the Vilna Goyin learned pshat.
Could you repeat? Yes, could you repeat that? Can you summarize that idea just quickly?
Yeah, but when the meila is occurring because hektish is being damaged, and we're actually losing hektish. So, for instance, it's bedek abayis, and now bedek abayis is losing. Bedek abayis isn't really losing it until, because even if you buy an animal, so the bedek abayis will own the animal. So there's still no monetary loss to bedek abayis until the animal gets shechted.
And therefore,
the me'ilah, you're not over me'ilah until that loss occurs.
The me'ilah, what about, okay. And, okay, so.
But if the type of me'ilah that you're doing is you're never damaging hektish.
Yeah.
For instance, I'm giving the shekel is supposed to go, I'm still giving it, I'm just taking credit for it, but there's no damage to hektish. That type of me'ilah will be triggered the moment you have anah, even though hektish hasn't lost anything yet. And we probably learned these out of Xeris Akosovs in Maseches Me'ilah.
Well, okay, so I understand that once something is stolen, if there's a guy like Lulav Agazel, right? We have a whole Mishnayos that
right.
If something is stolen, it's possible, right? In other words,
or it says lachem or lakachtem lachem, so it doesn't meet the requirements.
Well, even by the difference between bringing a behemoth and bringing an oif or a carbon, there's a pagam in the oif. I understand that an oif gets his food from Geza. Right.
That's why they don't put on the mizbeach the food sack.
Right. So there's a pagam in the carbon. It affects the carbon.
Well, yeah, but here the pagam that we're referring to is a loss of Hektish's money.
Right, but
it doesn't mean a blemish.
It's
not appropriate to bring this on the mizbeach. This just means if the me'ilah is a type of me'ilah where Hektish is actually losing money, so then Hektish has to lose the money to trigger the chiv me'ilah.
But the carbon's being brought with stolen goods.
Yeah, so we're not focusing on whether or not the carbon is kosher now. We're just focusing on whether the person who did this would be moil for having benefited from the money of Hektish.
But okay, so if we look at it from the other angle,
whether or not the carbon is kosher, I don't know what the rule would be. Okay. I don't know. There's a famous story. A Torah Masar convention, and they never let him speak again. Because what he said was, he asked a question. We're here in America, where we have such better school systems. We have better trained rebbeim. We have better fed children who slept good night's sleep, children who are nourished. We have technique. We're sophisticated in our education. Unlike in the shtetl, where everything was so amateurish and children weren't as healthy and weren't as focused. So how is it that in yesteryear in the shtetl they put out Gedolei Olam and we don't seem to be able to put out the caliber of Talmidim that were put out in the shtetl? So Rabbi Yaakov said the answer is because a lot of our moistus are operating with money that was donated from bad sources, from stolen sources. So since there's sheker mixed in to the money, it impacts the quality of our education. And they supposedly never let him speak again after he said that.
Not because of Scott Noadaris.
That was the end of him.
No.
Huh?
He also got canceled. He would have for sure been cut off of YouTube.
Scott Noadaris, no?
Yeah, that's one explanation. Okay, so let's see the Heilige Gemara weiter. Okay, so Shekel. Sagt die Heilige Gemara. Anan taninon im karven abehema. The Tandi Devei Rabbi im Nitmerat Truma. So if you look at the art scroll, he'll say that either way how you're goyris, the pshat doesn't go smooth. So the art scroll takes one approach, and I'd rather stick to the taklim. So let's read the Lashon Gemara. Anan tanini im karv ma'behema. Clearly, where did we say im karv ma'behema? We said that in the second half of the Mishnah, in the case where you took mois of Bedek Habayis and you took that money and gave it as your shekel. And the Gemara is asking, our Mishnah says that in such a case, you're not going to be mechuyev for me'ilah until the animal is purchased and even shechted. Vatani dvei Rebbe, yet we learned in a different brisa, im nitrat truma, even by hektish, it's already going to be chayv al me'ilah, even at the earlier stage where the truma salishka was taken. The taklin chadatin is goes exactly the opposite. Taninanam nitrat truma, meaning the reisha of our Mishnah, where you misappropriated your friend's shkalim, there you're chayiv as soon as the trumas alishka occurs. And taninon, yet we learned in a different place that even by misappropriating your friend's coin, you're also only going to be chayiv once the carbon was already shechted. So let's just look at the girsa of the taklin. Let's see where the Gemara is. Let me see if I can find it. That's all right there. 1 second. I'm not sure why I can't find it. Where his girsa is. Let's see where we are. Oh, here. Anan Bereisha Nitruma Truma. We regardless in the Reisha Nitra Truma to mashma the moil takeoff, afshalai karva, Vatani de Rebbe, Bebraisa, Gam Bereisha, the karva. So that's how the taklin is goyers. The archrow actually chooses to go with the Girs in the Gemara that it's in Karva Behema Nan, which is referring to the second case. Yet we have a brisa who says that even if you misapplied money of the kabayish and you gave it to a shekel, it's nitra truma. Zok the Gemara, man tana im nitra truma. Who holds that you're moil right away? Zok the Gemara, Rab Shimoni. It's going according to Rab Shimon. The Amar Rab Shimon miyad hoya makabel mo'isav v'kehanim's reasoning. When the Beis Hamikdash would buy product from a merchant, so let's say they would buy flour, they would buy a lot of flour that they were going to use for that season for the carbon mincha. What happens if the flour goes bad as it's in the storehouses of Hektish? So one Tana learns, not Rab Shimon, the Chachamim or Rab Shimon hold that Hektish does not pay the vendor until the flour is actually used and it didn't go bad. Because if it did go bad, it's the responsibility of the vendor to replenish it. It's the vendor's loss. So even after the vendor gives the flour to Hektish, if it went bad, which was Hektish, the vendor is taking responsibility for it and he doesn't get paid. Same with an animal. If the animal that the vendor provides to Hektish develops a mum, the vendor doesn't get paid. Which means that the transaction, the transfer to Hektish Rishus doesn't occur until after the animal is properly hukrav on the Mizbeach. However, Reb Shimon holds that that's not how it worked. The moment the Beis Hamikdash took possession of whatever commodity they bought, whether it's an animal like in our case, or whether it's flour, the vendor was paid immediately. The vendor would receive his payment immediately. Why are we not concerned that Hektish is going to take a loss if the product spoils? It's because the Kehanim's reasoning. Kehanim are reason and they know how to take care of anything that they get, and they'll make sure that it won't get ruined. So therefore, Zok to Gemara, the brisa that says Im Nitra Mahatruma, that means because once it's Nitra Truma, we already say that Hektish had the loss because their payment is now instantly given over to the vendor, which means now the Hektish already lost that money. Frank the Gemara, Vakasha.
Yosy, question. Doesn't Rabbi Shimon hold Brera? And wouldn't this be a case of you're guaranteed once you donate to the Korbanos that it's going to be used before the end of the year, because we learned already, they used up all of the money that's available for the Korbanos before the end of the year. So why wouldn't we say, as soon as this shekel is misappropriated from Bedek Abayis to the Korbanos, that you should be chayav right then, because for sure it's going to be used?
Yeah, but the problem is, you want me to bring a carbon of Asham Me'ilah when the actual Me'ilah has not yet been triggered yet. Even though we're sure it will occur, but how could I bring a carbon until I'm sure it has already been triggered?
Because
so you're telling me I'm for sure going to end up doing Me'ilah, but you can't tell me right now that I've done it already.
So when would he? So when does he have to bring a carbon for doing Me'ilah?
Once we know for sure he did Me'ilah.
So you're saying it would be at the end of the year, because it's not until the end of the year that it's guaranteed.
Correct.
And then how long does he have it to bring the korban?
When someone's mechuyev a carbon, how long does he normally have to bring the carbon?
Right.
I think he has 3 Yom Tovim.
Three Yom Tovim. That's what I would think also. So wouldn't it then depend when he's chayiv? Because if he's chayiv from the very beginning, then he would have 3 Yom Tovim from that time. If he's chayiv from
I think he's not a chayiv at all, because unless we can be sure that we know at this point he was moil, we won't be mechayiv him at all, because it's going to be chulun lazar.
So you're saying he would be chayiv from the last day. The chayiv to bring a korban for Me'ilah would be triggered the last day of the year, essentially.
Yeah, but then the Gemara would be able to hold that he could bring it then.
Right.
So I'm not sure how that would work. It seems like he would be Potter and Ganson. So let's see the next shtickle, and then let's go back to this, because it's going to be somewhat relevant to what you're asking. Because the Gemara says over here, the Kasha, Ilu hagoyniv oilosoi shel chaveroi v'shachtoi stam. Let's say you were mafresh an oil for your carbon, and I went and stole your animal, and I took it in to be shechted. So don't you say stoma loy l'shem bailim harishonim mechaperes? What happens? The coin shechts it l'shem anoila, right? So who's going to get the credit for that carbon? The original owner is going to get credit. Just because someone stole it, gave it to the gizbar, and said it's mine, that doesn't change the reality that this carbon belongs to Reuven. It doesn't belong to Shimon. So Oibazoi, what's the difference if I'm giving coins that you gave? At the end of the day, I could lie to the gizbar and say it's mine, but the fact is, it's yours. So I haven't really taken away anything. So why is there a problem, B'chlal? Amar Rav Yudan, so Rav Yudan explained, Tifaser b'mesuyim Michel Beis Rabbi Gamliel shoymechavin v'doifer l'secha kupa. This is like a Rabbi Shemais. Why? When you give your shkalim, you don't know if they're going to pick your shekel by the Trumas Alishka, but it doesn't really matter, because we know that when the gizbar takes the truma from the Trumas Alishka, it's representative of every single person who contributed. So even though they don't actually have your coin, you have a chelik in all those karbonis, because the sampling of coins that are taken are representative of all the coins that were contributed. But that wasn't good enough for the Beis Rabbi Gamliel. They wanted to know that their actual money got in. So it's like sometimes they have raffles, and the winner of the raffle is predetermined. In other words, as the gizbar was taking his big keli to scoop coins out, that's in the Beis Rabbi Gamliel came with their coins and threw it right to the entrance of the keli, so they were guaranteed that their actual coin got in. I have a friend who once won a $50,000 raffle from one of the moistus in Toronto. So the moistus called him up and told him, Rav Ploini, congratulations, you won $50,000. So he says, wow, that's wonderful. You know what? You don't even have to give me all the money. You can keep 25,000 and just give me 25,000. And my friend tells me it's silent on the phone, silent. So he says, okay, you know what? How about you can keep 35,000 and you only have to give me 15. It's still silent. So he says, okay, you know what? Keep 40,000, just give me 10. It's still silent. He says, you know what? Keep the whole money, never call me for another raffle again. So I told my friend, I have no suffix that they pulled your name out in the raffle. The question that I have is how many names they pulled out before your name that they decided to put back into the pot. I said, next time, if they pull your name, they're going to put it back into the pot and go to the next guy. So what the Beis Rabbi Gamliel wanted to do is they threw their money in right as the Trumas Aliska was occurring, so that they should get a Rangachat. So Zok Gemara, I'm going to Tifas of Masuim in Shal Beis Rabbi Gamliel Shay Mischaven v'Doichel Techazupa. Frek the Gemara v'Chash Loimar Shema L'Shirayim Ben Loifun. But maybe he did go L'Shirayim. It seems like the Gemara is backing off a little bit from what we said a moment ago. You know, if you made sure that the money got right into the kupa, so in that case, then the gizbar is taking it directly from you. That's when there would be a problem. But frankly, who said that's what's going to happen? And v'chiyesh mila b'shirayim, and if it ends up being shirayim, maybe there shouldn't be meila at all. Even if the money goes to the shiorei alishka, meaning it doesn't end up getting taken for kabbanis, there would still be meila. And as well, we said a moment ago, here, speaking where we know the coin was given to the place where they buy their kabbanis from it, because you threw it right in there. And there the gizbar is taking it specifically with the kavanah of accepting it from the person who's handing it in. So therefore, he's being loyal. So going back to what Avigdor asked, I should still be, just because we don't know when the carbon is going to be bought, but we can assume at least at the end of the season that it's going to be bought. That's what Avigdor asked. So I think that Taklin touches on that a little bit. So let's just see what he says. He says over here, let's see where he says it over here. Shekel One second. No, I thought he spoke about that. But he doesn't. So Avigdor is a very good kasha. Just because we don't see him being moil at this very moment, Lamaisa, we know eventually there'll be a carbon bra from it. I guess you can't be 100% sure. What if something goes wrong? I'm not sure. But your aura is a very good aura. Eventually, there'll be a time where you should be able to assume that the animal was bought. Okay, so let's see the Gemara weiter. So now the Gemara wants to know, what ano am I having? Just being yoitze, the mitzvah of machzah shekel, that's not considered a hana. That would be mechayiv me. That's not considered a shekel. Ha'ein mi'ila el behenem in a hektish. I have to have a hana. V'hacha my hana ika. Either covered mitzvah shenoshon the shiklai, if it's because you have the hana that you did a mitzvah, halav hanohi the mitzvah lav lehanistit. So what benefit do I have if I take my friend's shekel or if I take it from Bedek Abayis? Regardless, I'm not having any hana. It's only a mitzvah which is lav lehanistit. So Amar Rabbi B'Shem Rabbanan on the Taman, very pashut what I benefit. Mekivan shebezin ruin l'mashkein v'lo mishkanoi. I have a personal financial benefit, because had I not contributed, they would have seized from me collateral. Here, they're not going to seize that collateral because I've redeemed it with someone else's coin. That's treated like the Havana, and that's why you can. That's why you have to bring a carbon meal. Okay, Mimai Sheni. So you had my Sheni money and you gave it as your shekel. Why is there a problem? Because it says Ach Bechor Asher Yivakar L'Shem Babehema. Lo yaktish ish oisai, and we learn that not only by Bechor but from Babahemi, we learn by Ma'aser Sheni as well that it's impossible to be maktish mois of Ma'aser Sheni. So even if you give it into hektish, it will never become hektish. So therefore, kol shu kodesh, anything that has a kedusha of Ma'aser Sheni on it ain't kedusha chalalav. So you have a coin that's in the pot somewhere that's Ma'aser Sheni. It's actually not kodesh. So how do you redeem it? How do you deal with it? Ketzud oisa. What you do is maybe sell a shalchulim, take now a seller of chulin, v'omer, and say, moist ma'aser sheni b'chomokim shehein, wherever the money of ma'aser sheni that I contributed to the Shekalim, wherever it is now, lying in some warehouse somewhere, wherever it is, Yehu mechalolin al selazu. I want the kedushas ma'aser sheni to go off of that money that's by hektish, and it should go on to the money that I have here now. And then v'oisa sela nitbas l'shem ma'aser sheni. Now that the kedusha of ma'aser sheni went off the seller that's mixed into hektish, so now it actually becomes a shekel, and it's good for the machzos a shekel, and the ma'aser transferred to the new money that I brought, and that money I could take up to Yerushalayim and I buy food within Yerushalayim. V'ashar nasu shkolim, but the money that was mixed in that was originally ma'aser sheni now loses its status of ma'aser sheni and it becomes a regular shekel. Okay, I guess we better stop over here.
Yes, are you going to make a
Yes,
siyum
yes.
on Psachim tomorrow?
So David asked the same question. I was planning to do an informal. The shaila is if you can be yoytze on it as a siyum for a bechor. So Mitchell, I'm going to call Rabbi Lowy. I guess I could call him. I guess after 8:30, I could probably call him, and I'll ask him. And if he says yes, the fact that we're all together on Zoom, if we have a minyan, it works, then we could do it. And if not, you'll still have to find a siyum for a bechor.
All right, shkoyach.
All right,
Where-
shkoyach. So I'll post it on the chat what Rabbi Lowy said.
Where's the regular daf up to, by any chance? Just curious.
It'll finish Psachim on Erev Pesach, doesn't it?
No, I think
Today's-
they finish on Monday.
Today's what? I
Yeah,
thought
so today is Wednesday. Today would be Gimel, right? Today would be
Gimel.
Daf Gimel.
Today's Gimel.
So we're a full
Oh.
two blot ahead,
Oh, you're right.
Okay.
and I'm losing ground. Like today, I only was able to pull off a numbers.
Shkoyach.
So thank you so much. Have a
Right.
wonderful day, and I'll post it a little bit later.
Shkoyach.
Thanks.
Enjoy your liberty.